Just wanted to make a real quick video talking about something that seems to be jumping out of Enoch. I've heard some people talk about it before, but it never really jumped out at me like this. But all of a sudden, I'm starting to think there might be some potential for the moon to do something interesting around the time of the equinox, because a lot of people talk about how the moon, you need a second witness or whatnot, and I may have even heard someone say this, but it didn't sink in. But now it might be sinking in. But think of it, like, we get so focused on moon phases, and like when I tried to lay out the moon phase data that I read in Enoch, like it said the months were 29 days and 30 days. Lunar months were 29 days and 30 days, and once 28 days. When I tried to line that up side by side with the days in the solar year and the solar months, I could never get it to line up by the moon phases. I mean, it will like every few years or something, and that's why I thought maybe the moon was supposed to be some kind of Shemitah or Jubilee timepiece. But the thing I guess a friend and I were talking one evening, and I don't know how it jumped out, but we might have been talking about some of the calculated calendar videos floating around in there. I know the lady who posted the video on Jerry Morris's channel mentioned this. I think the peculiar cycle of the moon, and that didn't. So she might be on top of this, but it didn't jump out at me because I was thinking moon phase. But maybe it's not about the moon phase. It's possibly not about the moon phase lining up with the equinox or whatever. Maybe it is, but more so what I'm seeing is the potential for something to be going on with the portals. So the moon might line up in the portals. So like the lunar year is 354 days, and Enoch said the solar year was 364 days, and you can't get those cycles won't, they don't seem to match up but every few years or something. But there's another section in Enoch that talks about this peculiar, I forgot exactly what were the words it used, but it says in certain months she alters her course and uses the word peculiar. So if you open your Book of Enoch, if you have an electronic version, search for the word peculiar. But I think it's in the beginning of chapter 74, which I've heard people talk is like the holy grail of the intercalation or whatnot. And some translations go into this. Chapter 74 is big, and like we've had discussions on whether some translations say the sun and the stars bring the year into 364 days with perfect justice. Some translations say, I forget if it's the sun and the moon or just the moon, but it says something about the moon. Some of the translations say the moon, and it's just really confusing, and it's like, how is this supposed to line up? How is the moon supposed to bring in the year with perfect justice? I mean, the cycles only match like every few years. I don't get it. But when you read the part that I guess was right before that in Enoch 74, right at the beginning of Enoch 74, I think, it talks about the moon's peculiar cycle, and it's not talking about the phases, but it's talking about the way the moon races through the portals. And I'm gonna have to reread Enoch to see like how many days Enoch said the moon spent in each portal, but because I thought it was 29 and 30 days, but there is a section that definitely talks about the moon just racing through the portals. It's where it says this word peculiar, and it describes the moon as racing through these portals, like portal to portal, in only 7 or 8 days. Like it takes the sun 30 days to get between the portals, but apparently the moon, and I don't know if it always does this or if it's just in these special couple months or times of the year during the equinox, it does this peculiar thing. But it says it does, and it specifically says the moon does this peculiar thing in the 3rd and 4th portals, which are the portals where the equinoxes occur. And so it just, I had to Google it, and I had to look into it, and I was recently looking into these figure 8 patterns that people are taking pictures, overlaying pictures of the sun and the moon, and it's just interesting. I mean, when you look at those patterns are showing you the top and the bottom of the portals, and I'll try and have a picture showing the layout of the portals. But at least the up and down movement, when it gets to the lowest position, that's like one of the extreme portals on the solstices, and when it gets to the top position, that's one of the extreme portals on the other solstice, depending on if you're in the northern or southern hemisphere. But and I in my previous video on the winter solstice 2018, I have to correct myself. I was talking about the figure 8's sundial method, and I think I said the equinox happens at where the lines intersect of that figure 8 pattern. But as I Googled image this morning, I'm looking into these, I don't know what they call them. I'm not in front of my computer. I'm driving home, so I'm doing this all from memory. But these figure 8 patterns that people are taking of the sun and the moon in the sky, it's like called an anomaly or something. I don't know. But I just started looking into it because it looked really cool, and it was like, oh, that's the figure 8 pattern thing, and that I was talking about in my video. But then I noticed everyone seems to be saying that the equinox events don't happen where those lines intersect, and it seems popular science anyway is saying it happens somewhere else. Maybe along that figure 8 there's actually like a straight line portion instead of the intersection of the line. I don't know, but you can look at this on like pictures of old maps, like they have this symbol on them, and yeah, it's just really interesting. But anyway, so all this time I have been thinking I can't get the moon data to line up with the sun data but once every few years, and how on earth are people thinking that the moon can confirm the year? I mean, it doesn't even line up like every few years or so, but there's this other thing going on, and it's not necessarily the number of days like the lunar month and the moon phases, but rather it is the position of the moon in the portals, potentially. And I think Enoch calls it the moon's setting. So it's not the month, but it says the moon alters its setting, and it's just interesting. I'm trying to lay the data out in Excel, and maybe I'll try and show a picture, or I'll include like a Google image or a link on Google Drive where you can look at my Excel file and try and look at the data. But if anyone has laid this out successfully and can make sense of it, I'd like to see it, because I'm having trouble doing it, because there doesn't seem to be... There might be something going on with the translation, and I can't quite figure out where to start and where exactly to end. Like, there are only a few verses that talk about it really quick, but they're potent, and they definitely mention something about the sun rising in the 4th portal, and we know, according to what Enoch said earlier, that is when the equinox occurs, or I guess the equinox would be the day before. When it rises in the 4th portal, that is when the new year begins. And so you definitely get that timestamp in this little section where Enoch is talking about the peculiar pattern of the moon. But then it's talking about these 7-day and 8-day increments and how the moon is racing between portals. And there's also something interesting going on about gates. When it says gates and portals, I think there might be a subtle difference maybe between gates and portals. Like the gate might be located on a certain end of the portal. I don't know, maybe there's a gate at both ends of the portal. But when I read this section and I'm trying to map it out and write these numbers and try and figure out how to space it out and see if there's something special that happens, it's just hard to do, because Enoch starts out by saying the portal. I mean, he's talking generally, and he doesn't say exactly which portal or which gate he's talking about. It's only like somewhere in the middle where it's like, oh, okay, there, he's talking about the fourth portal. And so anyway, I just wanted to make this video and start raising an awareness. You know, the clock is ticking, and we're getting down to the wire here. Those who have been paying attention to this intercalation thing, come this spring, I think there may be as everyone on this Enoch calendar, these calculated calendar, Jerry Morris's calendar, like they were all kind of on the same calendar. But I think this spring we might see as many as potentially 4 different calendar. Whoa! Came around a sharp turn and bus right there. Okay. Anyway, what was I saying? We could potentially see as many as 4 calendars emerge this spring, because the lady who posted the video on Jerry Morris's channel is going to do, I think last I heard, was planning to do her intercalation this spring. But then possibly people in Jerry Morris's camp are going to possibly stick with the dates that he was saying. That I think that they're going to discover that starting to shift backwards from what he was saying. And then I think John Mitten is going to be even on a slightly different version, because he's going off of the actual equinox that like modern science says. And then there's what I've been telling people is no intercalation, but the year does start. According to Enoch, it seems the year simply starts the day following the spring equinox. So anyway, there's potentially all this variation coming up, and there's decision time coming. I've been trying to figure it out. I knew it was something we needed to figure out. I've been working on it, and you know, it's just now all of a sudden. It was only recently I discovered that. I realized that lady on Jerry Morris's channel was planning to intercalate this spring, and so now we're out of time. We're getting down to the wire, and potentially there could be 4 different calendars. But potentially, I'm seeing potential for this moon to potentially answer some big questions, and it's not about the phases lining up, which is what I was under the impression. But rather it might potentially be something about the portals lining up. And so I just wanted to put this out there as food for thought. I just wanted to insert a clarification here. I guess I kind of make it sound like I was the only one who thought the first day of the year should start following should be the day simply the day following the spring equinox, according to what I read in the Book of Enoch. But I guess I do believe this is also what Jerry Morris was understanding, but the difference is then the reason I said there might be 4 different calendars is because I mean, I don't know where everyone's mind's at, but if people stick with Jerry's dates, like the difference between what I've been saying and potentially what Jerry was saying, we both are saying that according to Enoch, it seems the year should simply begin with the day following the spring equinox. But what Jerry was saying, well, I guess what I'm saying is, regardless of what the year duration or the month duration of the solar cycle is, like whenever that spring equinox happens, that's gonna set the cycle of the 4 seasons, like, and that's gonna set the cycle of the year, as far as like that's my current understanding. Like I can't see how the year, I don't get in Enoch that the year begins any other way. It seems to be when the sun enters that 4th great portal, which is the day following the spring equinox. So I said 4 different calendars potentially, because if people are following the dates projected by Jerry without trying to do a confirmation for themselves of what the sun is doing, they may, like I said, they may eventually find potentially that it's drifting backwards from the actual, or maybe he's right, and I'm still open to that. I'm still open to the potential the solar cycle is 364 days, but ever since he made that claim, I have been trying to confirm that for myself, and it's been, I guess, going on, it'll be a couple of years I've been trying it this spring, and I am starting to get a feel for it. I think I still have some questions, I still have some experimentation I want to do, but last fall I saw something that seemed to be suggesting, for whatever reason, that the solar cycle may actually be something else. Now, it might just have been saying potentially the cycle is still 364, it's just the beginning of that cycle is just at a different time than Jerry was saying, or potentially it's just a different cycle duration, it's 365 point something or whatever modern science is saying, and that's why it's not lining up with what Jerry says. But anyway, the reason why there would be potentially 4 different calendars between Jerry and I, it's not because I'm the only one saying the first day of the year seems to be the day following the spring equinox, but it's because I'm going to try and base that off of what the observations show this spring. And based on last fall, it would look like it was coming up different from what Jerry was saying. So this spring, if people just kind of, like I said, just follow the data projected by Jerry without doing a confirmation, that's where paths might, I don't want to make it, I'm going to say paths might diverge, hopefully not, we'll find some way to fellowship, but as far as I can see, we still need to get out there and make some confirmations to verify the duration of the solar cycle and the starts. When are these 4 solar events happening? The solstices and the equinoxes, and we need more witnesses to confirm that. But I cannot see, according to Genesis 1:14, the luminaries being the timepieces, and according to what we read in Enoch, he says, I can't see it right now. I can't see it any other way that the first day of the year would. It seems it has to be the day following the spring equinox. And so as far as the moon is concerned, that's I guess the point of this video. I don't know if I mentioned it, but I'm thinking about how this moon confirmation is supposed to work potentially as a second witness. But what I'm thinking is maybe I'm hoping that maybe this portal alignment might actually happen, I guess either on the spring equinox or the day following the spring equinox, something. Preliminarily, something, I don't know. I just hope more people lay this data out and see if we can actually get any kind of match. And maybe it's not by the phase, but maybe it's by the portal. And I just wanted to mention one more thing. I've heard some people talking about how we need these multiple witnesses to establish a matter, and I just wanted to mention one more food for thought. Maybe we need to make sure the witnesses and the matter, we understand what those 2 things are. because people, are saying we need 2 witnesses to establish the start of the year, but maybe so the matter that they're trying to establish is the start of the year, but maybe the matter that is to be established is the single sign. It could be a sign, but it just needs multiple witnesses. People should, confirm that sign occurred. Like when I read, like that story of Hezekiah on the sundial, he gave him a sign, and it was one sign, and then there were 2 witnesses. Hezekiah and Isaiah, I guess, saw the sign, but there was only one sign given to establish that matter. It was the sun doing something special. And so I think I'm not sure what's going to happen this spring yet as far as the moon lining up. Preliminarily, it seems the year need to consider the year potentially starting simply the day following the spring equinox, and then the first day of the 7th month simply the day following the fall equinox. But potentially the moon does something both in the spring and the fall, and I'm interested to see what that is. But this is all just food for thought. I hope you guys contribute your thoughts, and maybe if we think about it now, we'll have an answer come this spring. And so I just wanted to put this out there as food for thought. I haven't fully thought it out yet, and like I said, I'm kind of having trouble thinking it out, because it seems Enoch is being kind of general, and it's hard for me to tell which portal he's talking about. Like halfway through that section about the peculiar cycle, he does tell us when and where the sun is, and I don't know, there's something weird going on. Like he says the moon comes into all of his fullness, and he says it twice, but it doesn't seem like there's enough time between the 2 times that he says that for like an actual full solar month of 29 or 30 days to have occurred. And by the way, the interesting thing about when in this section, when it's talking about the moon racing through the portals, and it says like 7 days to get from this portal to this portal, and 8 days and 7 days and 8 days and whatever, those numbers actually they do work out in the end to be a lunar month of either 29 days or 30 days, like is talked elsewhere in Enoch. But it's just that it's not 29 or 30 days per portal, not in this section anyway, not in this particular time of year possibly. And I don't know, it could be quite an amazing sign, like if the moon is on its normal cycle going through the portals in 29 days and 30 days, and then all of a sudden around the time of the equinox it does this different thing where it starts speeding through the portals at 7 days and 8 days. And like I said, I need to reread it to see if it does that all the time, or because I thought Enoch at another point described the moon moving through the portals, and he said it took 29 days, but maybe the moon goes that fast all the time. I'm not sure. But anyway, all of this to say, I'd like some input, I'd like some feedback, I'd like to hear your thoughts. If anyone else has thought about this, if anyone else has tried to lay out the data, because from what it's looking like, it is potentially, I can potentially see the moon lining up, doing something special on the equinox, possibly not the phase like I was thinking all along, but maybe its setting, its placement in the portals, and there might be something that lines up there. And one more thing I want to mention is I have a friend who's trying to bring me up to speed with all the priestly order stuff in the Dead Sea Scrolls, and so I've been looking into that, and I'm planning to continue my series discussing that possibility too. But preliminarily, I'm like, one of the problems I think that everyone in the calculated calendar camps has admitted to is that it's not, to them, hasn't been crystal clear where evidence of any kind of intercalation occurs. And so I have some of that information now, and I'm looking over it. And I mean, preliminarily, I was looking at it the other night, and I think I came to the critical area where we should see some evidence of some kind of intercalation, where it switches, as it's doing the priestly order, it switches from, I think, year 3 to year 4. And preliminarily, I just want to say I do think the pieces are coming together, and if we're diligent to all kind of discuss this and work with each other, and iron sharpening iron, I think some pieces of the puzzle may come together, and hopefully we can have some answers and some peace and agreement come this spring. So let me know your thoughts on all this, and I will be coming out with another video soon talking about my results from this past winter solstice as well. So I guess that's it for now. Shalom, and may Yah bless as you continually seek His truths in love with a pure heart.